The sun never goes down and time has slowed down. Would it be too crazy if we decided to stay forever? Decided to stay forever, forever.
All I need You gotta put your past behind you. Look, kid. Bad things happen, and you can't do anything about it, right? Wrong! When the world turns its back on you, you turn your back on the world.
Well, that's not what I was told.
Then maybe you need a new lesson. Repeat after me. Hakuna Matata.
What?
Hakuna Matata. It means no worries.
Repeat after me. Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata. It means no worries.
you higher, I will forever be intertwined with you. Where the sun never goes down and time must slow down. Would it be too crazy if we decided to stay forever? Decided to stay forever, forever. Stay forever. Stay, stay. Stay forever. Stay, stay. Stay forever. Stay, stay. Stay forever. Stay forever. Jump into the fire. I'd like to see your wild side. We should run away where the sun never goes down and time has slowed down. Would it be too crazy if we decided to stay forever? Decided to stay forever, forever. Stay forever. Stay, stay. Stay forever. Stay, stay. Stay forever. Stay, stay. Stay forever. Stay forever.
Baby, all I need one more chance. Oh, baby, let me show you. I need one more chance. Oh, baby, all I need one more chance. Oh, baby, let me show you. I need one more chance. Oh. All I need. Baby,
afternoon for you who is already here. I'm letting you know that from now on, we are going to have speeches in Portuguese and English. So if you're, when we talk about in Portuguese, Brazilian people don't need to use it, but if there's somebody talking in English, you can use your headphones to hear the translation.
Talking in English, speakers talk in English and in Portuguese. So we have simultaneous translation. You can get your phone out there. So, okay, então. And for my colleagues from abroad, you, as Brazilian, speak in Portuguese. So, eu vou começar falando em português. Pode ser que dê algum nó na cabeça alguma hora, que eu vou olhar para algumas pessoas que querem falar inglês.
I will be speaking
Colegas
Portuguese from now on,
da parte técnica, podemos começar? Podemos ir online?
People
Ou já estamos
from
online, eu estou falando aqui
technical
ao vivo
staff,
para todo
can we
mundo.
start? Are we live yet? Are we live yet? Can someone just give me go ahead, please? Are we online? Yes, okay, so good afternoon to you all, both here and online. I'm sorry for the delay, but we have so many people here, and from the get-go, we have our Olympics and our call. We had these two launchings, and now we are really glad to start the 5th Forum of the Young Ambassadors for the Ocean. Most of them are here, present, and some are online. And to establish this, I want to make it clear what we are actually doing and where we are coming from. So this is the 5th Forum of the Young Ambassadors of the Ocean. We had 5 previous versions from schools from all over the country and other countries as well, where students discuss with specialists and researchers and government representatives, NGOs, their points of view about the ocean, because we are all ocean. It's in our lives at all times. And we learn from these students. We had specific forums about the COP and climate. We had forums approaching the ocean, also fishery, the ocean, and we learn a lot every year. Of course, these forums were born in a very difficult moment, which was the pandemics. So they were online first. The 4th forum was also here in this place we are now. And now we are going hybrid. And I'd like to register my enjoyment. From tomorrow morning on this very same place, we are going to have a meeting for the next 1 year of about 80 specialists from the whole world, researchers, managers, professionals that work with the ocean, that are here for an event produced by the UN, and here in Brazil is being hosted by the Education Ministry, that are producing the World Ocean Assessment, which is the biggest document about the ocean in the world. It's a document we see on TV that governments use to base their decisions for the ocean management. This is a short version launched in 2021, this global report about the ocean health. The UN has launched this document in 2021, and from last year we have 4 years in a process, an ongoing process that is called the third stage, that is building the new version to be launched in 2025. So this document will be reaching the government all over the world and society as well. And tomorrow and for the next 7 days, this document will be discussed and debated by professionals and researchers from all over the world, many of which are here today with us, and I'd like to welcome them. And when the ministry and us from Maré de Ciências and UNESCO that work with the Blue Schools and the Ocean Olympics, we thought to use this topic for this forum. That's why we invited some of these groups or schools to check some parts of this document, this last version that was launched. And then we are going to talk informally about it. So our scenario now is, while we are discussing a document that influences the whole world, what is the role of the new generations in this? Because in 2025, we will have a new document that will be used for 4 years. So in 7 years, many of you will be working, will be in the job market, and maybe you will be using this document. So it's nice that you start getting acquainted with it right now. And I'm very glad to say that we have such a huge diversity, because today we have here more than 100 students from at least 10 schools from the region, schools from Santos, Itanhaém, Cananéia, São Paulo, Rio Claro. So mainly schools in the state of São Paulo, but we have groups from the city of Santos, from Itanhaém, from several schools, Cananéia, from the Marquês de São Vicente here in Santos, a school from São Paulo, from Rio Claro, another school from Santos, and in total, just to make it mentioned, we have more than 10 cities participating here on site and online. We have School Francisco Nunes from the state of Pará, in the middle of the Amazon. So they're in the north of the country. We have College Amorim from São Paulo, High School Miguel Couto from Cabo Frio in Rio de Janeiro. We also have, those are the guys from Rio de Janeiro. We have the public school Ivone Miller from Navegantes. They just left. And Aldo Melini from Iporanga. We have several schools that are far away from the ocean but are here with us. And we have also some messages recorded that we are going to watch from other 7 countries. So this knowledge will be shared with students from South Africa, Ireland, United States, Namibia, and Portugal. And I always talk a lot, but I'd like to briefly explain how this is going to work. So today we'll have some topics to be discussed that comes from the World Ocean Assessment Report from 2021. We are going to do it in 3 rounds. In each round, we will have 4 young ambassadors and 3 specialists debating. They will be called to the table, and they will talk. And in the end, we will open the mic for everyone who wants to comment, and the schools online could join in the conversation. Okay? So, that said, I need my notes today. Well, we're going to start. I will mention the two first topics, but I'd like to call the persons to take part in this table. I'd like to call our young ambassadors. We have Laura Ferro from Objetivo from Rio Claro, and Maranhão from Marquês de São Vicente. We also have, I got a little lost here with my paper. Then we have Ana Júlia Souza and Ana Sueli Sudan. Ana Júlia Souza comes from Franklin Augusto, and Ana Sudan from Colégio Acre. Can you sit here, please? Then we will mix. And this first moment as specialists to debate with us, I'd like to call from Morocco our colleague Otman. Can you join us, please? Not from academia, but from the Science and Technology and Innovation Ministry, representing our government, Paulo Polejac, and from conservation, I have Janaína Bumber from the Boticário Foundation. Okay. So in this round, we will need the headphones if you're Brazilian when Otman is speaking. But to start, the topics we're discussing during this first half hour, they discuss pollution in the ocean and ecosystem protections, maritime ecosystem protection. So I'd like to ask you to watch this short video about pollution that brings messages from students from other countries as well. Os sistemas marítimos são os ecossistemas mais produtivos que proporcionam serviços para as pessoas e animais. Mas no futuro,
includes plastic, chemical, and litter pollution. Pollution not only affects the ocean, but the animals found inhabiting this ecosystem. Plastic pollution has been the biggest problems of the marine environment.
Earth's oceans are going bad, and fast. There will be a garbage patch as big as 2 Texases, and sea turtles are choking, thinking straws are food. And this is happening so much, you could be eating plastic and already have it inside of you.
وغالبا ما تكون نتيجة الأنشطة المرتبطة بالإنسان كرمي الأزبال والنفايات، خاصة المكونة من البلاستيك الذي يكون صعب التحلل، مما يجعل تراكمه تهديدا للحياة البحرية والكائنات الحية داخل المحيطات.
Now imagine, every year about 4 million to 12 million single-use products has been manufactured.
Por vivir en una isla, la disposición de residuos sólidos siempre es un problema. La contaminación por plásticos la vemos en nuestras playas todos los días.
People that in 2050 there will be more plastic than fish in our oceans.
The world's water is disgusting and litter is everywhere. You go. And people still don't learn.
التقليل من استعمال البلاستيك، توعيته بمخاطر التلوث تهم جميع فئات المواطنين، وإصدار قوانين صارمة تهم جميع وإصدار قوانين صارمة على كل مواطن مستهتر أو ملوث أو غير مسؤول. شكرا.
Don't litter. Please don't litter. Because if you litter on land, it could still end up in the ocean. Also, scientists say by 2050 there will be more plastic than fish. Also, we are eating microplastic because if a small fish eats a piece of plastic and then a big fish eats a small fish and then we eat the big fish, then we are eating microplastic.
لكن علينا المحافظة على نظافة الشواطئ بإعداد برامج توعوية لمؤسسات تعليمية بمساعدة المجتمع المدني من أجلنا ومن أجل الأجيال القادمة.
شي ميكا تحيدها الطرائف بأن تحيدها حنا خاصنا نلقاو الشواطئ ديالنا من أسباب هذه مسؤولية الجميع.
Plastic is in our oceans and our bays. In 2050, there'll be more plastic than fish in the oceans. There is more viruses than in 2014, 250 more species to be precise. And it is really bad for oysters, so says my dad, who is an oyster farmer.
If I had to give advice to my parents, I would probably say, Mom, Dad, our oceans are very dirty. But we can help stop this. Stop using plastic bottles, bags, straws, and other plastic material.
E pode jogar lixo lá quando a gente for na praia?
Não pode jogar lixo.
Por quê?
Porque senão os bichinhos vão comer e morrer.
Muito bem, é muito feio quem joga. E onde a gente tem que jogar? Canudinho, copinho.
No lixo. No lixo.
Mesmo que a gente esteja aqui na nossa cidade, a gente tem que jogar onde o lixo?
No lixo.
Parabéns.
Todo mundo tem que jogar o lixo no lixo.
Isso mesmo, Giovanni. Muito obrigada. Viu?
Thank you very much. These videos are part of our Blue School networks. This network is present in 16 countries. They were produced and presented in Washington last year when we signed the treaty, the Atlantic Treaty. So those messages were sent to the government of all the countries participating. Now let's talk. We are going to start by talking about pollution, but who is going to define the tone of this conversation are the young ambassadors. So let's start with Laura from Colégio Objetivo de Rio Claro. We're going to make this initial intervention. And how do you see this issue of ocean pollution? I've always been a person present in environmental causes because of my mother. She guided me through these issues. She advised me to look to ecology and sustainability. I joined this project in 2021 with the Olympics, and I like to tell people about the importance of the ocean, either from a climate point of view and from the forest point of view, because when you start researching, at least it happened to me, I started with the ocean because it always caught my attention, and you end up going to the land, going back to us with how we dispose of our garbage, how we neglect this issue, and especially plastic, which is the most problematic issue of waste. And people don't usually listen to us because they're not interested in this, and this used to make me really nervous. But now I'm really happy to be participating and to come here to talk about this subject. Thank you, Laura. Now, Antônio Maranhão from Marquês de São Vicente here in Santos. What is your point of view about pollution? Well, basically, I was introduced to this through scientific initiation at the Federal University, where we had to conduct a research. We were introduced to a research that was about quantifying and qualifying garbage waste on the beach, and we used this by collecting garbage and analyzing them. And we analyzed the data, especially close to the sea. We don't have a lot of presence of garbage, but by the middle of this beach, we have lots of plastic garbage, and when you get closer to the other part of the coast, you don't see a lot of garbage. So this is basically how was I introduced to the ocean topics and sustainability. And this was a door open to me through scientific initiation. So basically that's it. Thank you for the opportunity of participating in this event. I don't have much more to say.
Before passing to the other girls, I would like to ask Laura, do you guys have any questions about the pollution at all, so our guests could answer to these questions? When I was studying to come here, I was wondering about plastic. We have five types, two located at the Atlantic, but in general this project talks about how to reduce the creation of new problems. But I would like to know if there is any project towards existing programs, mainly when it comes to plastic in general, because I am aware that it is such a huge problem present. Wherever they are, they cause a lot of issues in the oceans. Antonio would like to ask something. We can get started. Hello. I am a little bit, afraid of this roundtable because the students seem to be the expert. But what comes to my mind is that when I was working in the office, I was the champion, of taking rounds on the table. But anyways, I believe that all of us, we are all able to find solutions. I believe that each one of us can have a solution if we think about new thoughts, new solutions, new innovations. It's not only for biologists, it can be for an engineer, for someone working in communication, artificial intelligence. I am aware that many equipments have been developed in the marine area, and I've heard all of it. I know the example of Marulho from Brazil. They get the net where the fishermen, they use this type of net so they can locate the animals that get stuck in the net, and we can use it as materials, and it could generate a revenue for the community. So it's just a small example that you could understand my thoughts. I know that many ideas are coming up every day, new things are coming, and if we have a good construction, many minds thinking together, we will find a way.
Understand me, yeah. So it was a very incredible question to ask, the way that pollution is. And I'm always baffled by how much easy the solution can be, because every problem has a simple solution, but we as human, we like to complicate stuff. We like to think more. And the easiest thing to solve pollution is to eradicate our inner self that keep throwing the garbage. Don't throw it, there'll be no wastes, problem solved. But this is something that we cannot force. You cannot force others to stop things, but you can start by changing yourself, changing your community, and then the change will grow. So the first time I was in Santos, I met some people from Surf Limpeza who gather waste from the ocean and change it to beautiful shape of animals. It's beautiful. It gives decorative style to the waste, and it's a recycling because we need that. Also, in Morocco, we have this thing that is incredible. In beaches, we don't have plastic waste. We have waste that are looking like fish. So when you throw waste in that bag of fish, it looks how the fish will look when it's in the ocean. So basically, if you throw waste in the ocean, the fish is gonna eat plastic, and that's how it is. And we finally eat plastic. So it's like play on the visual side, because we humans, we like to see things. We don't like to read, we like to see. And this is something important because we need to change ourselves, change our community by something visual. And this is what we are here, because the change is the future, we need to change us. And I think with all of us, we can have a simpler solution, like motivate and eradicate in the future. Yeah, thank you so much.
Obrigado, Laura. Que pergunta difícil.
Thank you,
E
Laura.
parabéns pela pergunta.
What a difficult question, but congratulations for the question. There are many projects thinking and wondering on how to remove the litter, the trash, the garbage from the ocean. The solutions coming out from the researches come from those plastics that are not actually able to be recycled. Much of the solutions come from the industry. We could depend less on the plastic, but rather produce a product that could be way better for nature. Something that we forget sometimes is not only about the plastic itself. Many areas here in Brazil, they don't have water treatment. The water goes all the way directly to the ocean. If you are home, for example, and you're using a medicine for a long time, it will go in your urine in the bathroom, and then this urine will go to the water supposedly treatment, and then it is not treated. It goes to the ocean, and then you know, the farms that use some chemical products to produce food for us. In Brazil, we have a lot of that. It will go to the soil, go to this water under the soil, and it will go to the ocean as well. So we have many phenomena that the science have been studying so far. We started getting worried about it in the 70s, but for you it may seem like a long time ago, but for us it's just like yesterday. I believe that in 2070, I believe that having an idea of the fact that we have only one planet, I have the hope that us who are here as for a long time and have the PIBIC institution, this institution that calls your attention to fight against this cause. I am all sure that we will get there. Thank you so much, Andrei. Let me just keep up with the round table. I would go all the way to the opposite side of the pollution, which is on how to protect the marine systems. We need to think about these protections, and what have you been thinking so far? I would like to hear Ana Júlia from the school from São Paulo. What would you say about it? Since 2020, my school have been working with a project about the ocean, and from 2020 so far,
fala sobre o
We
oceano,
talk
sobre
about the
o plástico do
ocean,
oceano.
about the ocean in the plastic in the ocean, and we study all about it, and we talk about it in our school, in our daily routine. Congratulations! Thank you so much for your contribution.
E lembrando, hein, para quem não é
And
daqui,
to
na
remind
verdade, a
you, for those
escola
who are
dela
not
tá em São Paulo, a pelo menos
from the
80
region,
quilômetros
she's
distante do mar.
around 50 miles
E a
from
Ana
here.
Sueli,
So,
trajando estudando no colégio
Ana
Alves, você nos
Sueli
traz sobre
from
esse
the
tema,
Atrium
você viu no
School, what would you say? The school where I study, with this project, we started working a bit more about the ocean, on how to protect the ocean, although we have some projects with the beginning of the year schools, so we could talk about the ecosystem. We have the ones protecting the oceans, and also always thinking about the adapted content in the classes. And we need to cross how the kids could take care of the environment in the correct way, so we are not affected in the near future. I believe that for us to get there, at least solve somehow the issue, partially the ecosystems, I believe that indirectly, that's not everybody that have a connection with the ocean, but there are the laws and the UDS 14, one of the most famous ones, the Day of the Straw, and the not authorized fishing. I believe that one suggestion that I could give is the month where the fishing practice is prohibited, so that the species could be reproduced. Because we are aware that the fish, is a meal that is really consumed here in the region due to the coast and the culture. How do you see the possibility of legalizing this day? It is just a suggestion.
Você quer complementar alguma outra pergunta?
Would you
que
like
daí
to
eles já vão pensando
complement
pra
with any
responder?
other questions so they could think about it and answer the question?
Como vocês pensam
How
em conservar
do
e
you
gerenciar o
see and how to
oceano
preserve
para
the
continuarmos
ocean
fazendo nossas
so we can
atividades que
keep
extraem
on performing
recursos do
our
oceano
activities,
de uma forma
avoiding
seja de uma maneira sustentável?
subtracting these resources from the ocean and being more sustainable?
Colegas,
How about it, my dear colleagues? How do you see that protect in a sustainable way the resources? How can we work on a solution about it?
Gente, vocês são muito difíceis.
You are very challenging, I will start with the good the good period, and it depends a lot. The shrimp have, a period of time. It is different from another fish that we consume. So for each one of these species, the scientists, they get together with the representatives of the government from the environment, and with the fish routine that we have. They need to get into an agreement, but it is a law. It takes time. It takes long time to negotiate. And this period have changed for some species. For example, the closed season of these species have changed. So there are some certain fishes that they are not reproducing anymore. For example, the water temperature have increased, and the species, they change, the fishes and all the other animals. So we need to always reassess, reevaluate all the time. It is really complicated to answer this type of question. How do we manage and how do we work on the maintenance in a sustainable way? We know how to do it. We know also how to not do it, but it's not always easy. We tell people, You cannot do that anymore. I will give you an example. When we had the law about the straws, do you know people that have complained about the plastic straw? For example, oh, you cannot eat so much, red meat because you're going to damage the environment. People will complain about it all the time because it needs to have a way on how to change our mindset. So we need these types of discussions to change that. We are citizens. It doesn't matter how old I am or how old you are, if you enjoy something or not. What matters the most is that you have the same right as I do have a way to change society and how to change the marine system. Not always people want what we want. So it is really difficult to do this type, perform this type of maintenance. We do our best all the time.
The initiator to my PhD. This yet question of how can we yield this date? How much time can we wait? How time can we stop? How much time can we give a fish? And the answer is it's really hard to determine the time because it's not only dependent on the fish that live, but it's also dependent on us as humans. And the problem that we faced in Morocco when dictating certain time that we call the biological rest is that imagine that there is like a certain fisherman that's working on fishing that certain species. When you tell him don't fish that species anymore, you're telling him don't work anymore. He's been working for 20 years, he only knows that work. How can you tell him to stop working and translate to another work? So it's
achar
also
outro
the
trabalho.
government problem of
Então isso
finding
também
the
é
optimal time and the optimal policy between stopping and letting that stock reproduce and also finding other opportunities to the person so he can continue working, continue feeding his family. So we can have a conversation about having a law. We can have also our work as scientists of giving you the optimal time and everything as the best as we could do. But also we need to understand that it will take time. Nothing comes fast. But it's coming because certainly it happened in the 60s. There was like many fish stock that was about to be destroyed and the government said no fishing anymore and we saved so many species because we said stop. And exactly when time will come and we will have the exact measurement, exact numbers, we can take a good decision. This is why I say it's in the right time, we will take the right decision. That's what we need to do. Thank you so much.
In this perspective, not only you have to communicate to people and that people adhere to it, but we need data. So for instance, in Brazil, we don't have quantification of fishery here in Brazil for many years, that process you have on your house, the census. We need to do this for fish. How many fishes we have, the age, the species, and how do you do that? How do you ask the fishes those questions? So scientists can do that. We need this data to make the right decisions. And so we need to say when the closed season has to happen, which species can be fished, which cannot. So we can rely on the decisions we're making. And regarding your question, Ana, we have Ana, and Jana here. And but regarding ocean sustainability, this is the question that we have a decade to discuss. This is the very question we are discussing dozens of researchers involved in this to achieve this, how to sustainably manage the ocean. We have several pathways, but the basis of it is science. That's why we need you, future scientists and researchers, and the researchers that are already here to make part of this group and survey this information. Thank you, Jana. And this adds to other questions, such as question that the 80 people will start answering tomorrow. How can we legislate about fishery? Where are the places we have gaps? So this is very important. And because I'm the annoying one, I have to wrap up. I'd just like to ask my colleagues, is there anything very brief you would like to say right now? I'd just like to thank you, because we never have the chance to talk to you, and talking to you is something we should be doing every day. And this is very nice. I think you should have more voice, more chances of having questions and asking the greatest specialists in that topic so they can answer. So I invite you to seek for people like us to ask your questions. And thank you, Ronaldo.
Keep asking questions. Yeah, it might sound as easy as it is, but keep asking questions, because by asking questions, you can find solutions. That's it. And never change. Just keep going. You're on the right path. Just continue. You have our full support as our future mentors. Yeah.
You started mentioning that he was never in an event such as this one with this size. I'd like to say that I wasn't either, because we have so many students in schools and students from all ages. So it's an honor to me to be here, and I hope we had other events such as this one ahead of us. Now I'd like to invite our young ambassadors to a final message. Let's start with Laura Ferro. Well, the only thing I say, my message is keep on this pathway. If you don't have anybody close to you to answer your question or questions without answers, just research, look for it, try to understand how nature works and how nature works with us. But if you stumble upon a question without an answer, keep asking until you find an answer. That's it. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Antonio. I was emotional about what she said. I'd like to thank my teacher, Arnaldo Santana, that introduced me to scientific initiation. And going in the path of what she said, just keep researching and studying. I take a lot of pleasure in studying. So that's it, basically. Thank you, Antonio. Ana Júlia. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity of being here. I'd like to thank my teachers who helped me. And as my colleague mentioned, try to research and study. That's it. Thank you. Ana Sueli. I don't have much more to say. I think that's the point. Every time we need to find something out, to discover the truth, and to have an opinion about a subject, you have to research. And I have to thank my school for this opportunity and all of you here. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to ask you to go back to your seats, and while they go back to their seats, I'd like to ask my colleague to play our second video that talks about the blue schools.
A agricultura, ela é uma atividade que pode ser praticada de forma sustentável. E o custo de investimento dela é relativamente baixo. Assim, ela contribui.
Because the video has captions, this booth is not going to translate it.
Ela pode ser também uma alternativa para a geração de emprego e renda de forma competitiva em regiões menos desenvolvidas.
A pesca artesanal baseia-se na extração dos recursos do ambiente natural. Geralmente, a quantidade
Generally, the amount of fish is at small scale, and it assures feeding several families. Fishers build their own boats without any technology. The fishermen fish for their family and for their communities.
That they are taking too much of it, and it's not good because it's gonna affect the ecosystem.
Hay un animal muy bonito que se llama vaquita marina. Solo vive aquí, pero está en peligro de extinción por la pesca ilegal.
Alguns pescadores acabam não respeitando o tempo de defesa de
Many
algumas espécies.
fishers do not respect the closed season for some shrimp and fishes. This disturb their reproduction and may even extinguish their species. My grandfather is a fisher, and he says he's grateful to have his voice heard by other people who understand what he says. He says that we should protect the ocean, the tides, and take care of nature, because not only it takes care of our planet, but we can also help other people. Tell me, what is aquaculture? It's like a fence for the fish. And what is that fence for? For the fishers to separate the fishes they can fish from the other ones they cannot. Okay, and what happens if the fisher go fishing in the open sea and the net goes in the sea? The turtles, they die. And why do they die? Because they cannot breathe. Down there, they cannot breathe. And then what happens? They drown, right? And does this happen only to the turtles? No, other animals as well. Which other animals? Dolphins and whales. Very well. And Elisa, is aquaculture only the fence for fish? No. What else can aquaculture have? Squid, shrimp, lobster. What else? What else do you have aquaculture for? With squid, octopus, everything we can eat, right? Mussels too, right? Yes, oysters as well, yes. And what about crabs? Yeah, there are lots of crabs down there in the water. And for the crabs, do you have a big fence or a tiny cage? It's a small cage, and goes a lot of crabs inside, right? Yeah, lots of crabs. Is that cool? Yeah. And then everybody is happy, right? Because the ocean is happy. Okay. And I'll have to be annoying again because I'm extending our time, and some of the children came from afar and they have a time to return. I'd like to ask you to come. I'd like to ask you not to applaud, please. So for the next round, I have the pleasure to discuss the topics regarding understanding the ocean for sustainable manage and to promote ocean safety. So we have Maria Claro from Colégio Objetivo de Rio Claro. Yara Ramos Ferreira from Colégio Átrio, Nicolas Miranda Nonato Santos from the Public School Franklin Augusto Dick Moura Campus, and Isabela Paiva Coelho from the State School of São Vicente. And as guests to debate, we have François Ballet from the UN of the Department of Ocean and Law, Rodrigo Tomé from Oceano from communication, and sorry if I mispronunciate your name, Onimi Umo from Nigeria, who is one of our guests and participating, who will be taking place in this table.
Falei correto, senhor?
My apologies. Let's get started with the subject of the day, with our young ambassadors. I would like to start with Maria Clara. What would you like to say? First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity and chance to be here. I would like to know how this technology can assist in the agriculture area, mainly in the small states and countries with not so much development. I would like to talk about an idea that I have of an application. I have this text in English. I would like to read for you.
App that can improve the health of the oceans and other marine ecosystems as
assim como
1. Materials according to all age groups with support materials, music, interactive class and games, and maybe we can bring virtual reality, promoting the creation of more blue schools around the world and bringing the cultures of different countries into this context. Also, we can write ebooks telling about the story of projects of blue schools and partnerships with non-governmental organizations that have more resources to help this project. Last but not least, we can create cooperatives that remove the tons of garbage and clothes that are improperly disposed on the coast of some countries, converting this piece of clothing into a good condition clothes and donate to the population of small island states and less developed countries generation jobs, which means that it's important to the economy of these countries and promoting the health of the oceans. And finally, I would like to finish with a part from the World Ocean Assessment Chapter 1. Understanding of the ocean continues to improve. Regional observation programs have expanded with better coordination and integration. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Obrigado.
I will follow the same line to talk about the sustainable solution. What would you like to say? Good afternoon. The theme of the day is to talk about the sustainable way out. For me, it is really important to involve the community in general. So each one of us can do our part, having a responsible consume. Do I really need that? For example, when I am on the supermarket, should I use this plastic bag or could I use my own bag from home? For example, we have our own bottles of water. We don't use plastic bottles anymore. And we have a sustainable way of thinking in the school environment. We always think about the plastic as trying to be more sustainable. But we live in a society that imposes the use of plastic. I believe that many of you like to consume rice, right? Have you ever seen in the supermarket a way to carry the rice without a plastic bag? I believe that one of the solutions that I saw are the big amount of plastic in the oceans. It is the double size of France. It is surreal how much litter we produce, how much garbage, and it is fragmented into small little pieces, and sometimes it becomes impossible to reduce it. It was proved that we even have small parts of plastic in our body. As I was saying, in order to start producing and having a more, more awareness about it, we need to bring it into our reality. We don't see the plastic. We don't really live this reality. But it is disgusting, right? To swim in an ocean with a bottle of water, of plastic in the ocean, trash. We need to create an environment where it is good for all the beings, not only the human beings. We don't need to damage the other animals as well. My question is, how does the school community can collaborate with a sustainable solution in the practice? I will pass it on this question to our guests, because we have small islands of the process and the engagement needed. Francois, would you like to get started by reacting to this point? Muito obrigada. Obrigada pelas perguntas. Obrigada
This is
por.
fantastic. This movement, I think, of all of you is already part of the answer to your questions. You have networked all these schools, you have messages from around the world, and you are the youth who are thinking about these things and bringing solutions, hopefully, to the table very quickly and very soon. Don't let anybody tell you you don't have solutions already. You have creativity and you have truth on your side. So that's a general comment. Another thing, I think, your idea of applications and your idea of networking for change is really important, and harnessing technology is something that you can easily do. As a new generation, you have something in your hands that no point in humanity has humankind ever had. The ability immediately to connect and to talk to people and to exchange ideas immediately, right? So with that also comes responsibility. And I think that that's where you have to really study hard, ask questions, don't take the first answer as always the truth, and build your communities around what you can learn together collectively. And don't be scared of being challenged as well as challenging. Thank you.
Thank you, Francois.
Hi, so first I have to say this is a very good opportunity for all of you to get involved with the sustainable way of using the ocean. So as we all know, the ocean itself can heal itself. So the first thing is we humans have to stop introducing what we are introducing to the ocean. And then for the young ones, you already mentioned the situation of collaboration and some networking. That's a very good point. But I want to say this, we have to also look at how we go to the local communities and start educating those that are not opportune, to have more information about the ocean itself. Maybe you are opportune to be here, but there are thousands of younger generations that have not gotten the same opportunities. And then the society, their society, keep destroying the ocean. And speaking from the scientist or scientific point of view, we, on a day-to-day basis, keep developing methods of resolving the problems that have already been created. For instance, in our laboratories, we create ways we can, remove the plastics that have already been introduced into the ocean. And the other way around, sometimes, or let's say the ecosystem itself, the microorganisms also destroy these plastics. But there is a bigger problem. So we all look at the physical pollution. But what about the ones that with the plastics degrade? What does it produce back to the system? So if your plastic is being broken down to a chemical, what chemical is released to the ocean? That is more dangerous than the physical plastics. So you might eat the physical plastic, but the chemical that is being produced into the system is more dangerous. So in the lab, we try to create an avenue of removing this chemical from the system. So my first point here is, I believe I'll have another opportunity to explain something better here, is we just have to stop doing, what we know is affecting the ocean negatively. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. So, regarding the first question, the methodology have changed. When I was younger, we would need to read, research. We needed time. We needed research. We needed, to have the minimal information. We would need to buy lots of books. It's like an encyclopedia, Nowadays, we have all the information in here in our hands for anyone to check whenever and however they want. So the magic for any solution is to share information so we can better understand and look for solutions to any issues. Technology can help in everything, not only in the environment, on how to coexist in this planet, but the most basic, possibility is to communicate better. And the second part, the second question, how does the school community can help in the practice daily routine? I believe that the secret of all is the school itself. School is the very organ that is going to bring near the discussion that for a long time were ignored or were understood as a second priority. We had a negative culture transmitting fear, making people being away from the real issues with the ocean, even the worst ones, with overfishing or plastic when it is in the water, it is not in the surface. Usually it is under the water. Sometimes they are in micro pieces, of plastic, and that's why we cannot see it. We cannot see it. To talk about it, to start making questions.
Mainly in our school environment, I think the battery, the mic is going dead. Well, in our home environment, to ask questions about how am I going to improve the way this product or this residue will affect the environment. You have learned and started talking about the 3R, reuse, recycle, and reduce. We talk about recycling, but the first R and the first message we should hear is reducing. The scholar community can help teaching older people to make this a reality, starting from home. Thank you. And that said, and talking about management of residues and protection, now let's talk about ocean safety. So I'd like to invite Nicholas from the public school Franklin Augusto de Campos to talk about his perspective on the topic. It's working, you can move on. Thank you, El. Good afternoon. I am from the elementary school, Professor Emily Campos. I'm 14 years old, and my topic is promoting ocean safety. And this is one of the topics I like to talk about at school, is tsunamis and hurricanes and things like that. I think that this topic is very interesting because we talk about the planet Earth and we talk about the ocean, and I think it's more, I feel more comfortable talking about it. And my question is, also about this topic, we talked a lot about the air pollution. And my question is, how can we reduce pollution like atmospheric gas to have pure air and to minimize toxic gases like, let's say, like carbon-based gases? If we had less of these gases, would we have less tsunamis and hurricanes and events like that? Now, what do you bring from your perspective? Well, good afternoon. I like to say that my school is present in this activity, and it has segregated garbage collection, and our teachers talk about the importance of preserving our ocean, and we had already conducted field activities to collect garbage on the beaches. And on my daily routine, I also separate garbage, and I try to dispose my waste correctly to help preserving our oceans. And my question is, how can we raise awareness among people that goes to the beaches and reduce the improper disposal of garbage? So we go from tsunami, the effects of carbon dioxide, and we go to waste disposal on the beaches. Now we have to go to be really brief. Well, your question is very interesting. Your question is very interesting. We developed a movement called 5 Minutes of Cleaning the Beaches that motivates people that just go to the beaches for whatever reasons to pay the environment with 5 minutes of their time to collect the garbage around them. We have this weird perception that our environment is not ours. It's only yours if it's only yours. If someone goes to your place and throw garbage on your floor, what do? You collect it and you complain with that person. But this concern does not occur in a collective environment. If something that was not placed there by you, it's not your problem. It's like a supernatural ability that makes things invisible. Things that bother you turns invisible. But we believe that if we start making people think about themselves as agents for transformation, it's not like you need a huge movement to achieve transformation. But if each of us see the environment as ours, then this person will be able to connect with this environment and make their impact and other people's impacts minimized. So we believe that we can raise awareness on people to dispose of their garbage correctly is by doing it. When you go there, when you go to the beach, do you really collect garbage? When you go there surfing, or when you go to the park, or when you go enjoy a river, do you collect the garbage you see or not? You pretend you didn't see it. So the first thing you can do is doing it yourself. There's a sentence that is a cliche nowadays, but it says that you inspire by the message, but example drags people along. And when you make people, when you do things, people around you feel obligated to do it as well. And as in every change of habits, when you do it for the first time, you have to take an effort, and the second time, you still have to take an effort. After 5 times, you can't imagine yourself not doing it. So the first action is to take responsibility for yourself. Well, I have to wrap up, and I'll leave the next question, the other question, for the next speaker.
Well attempted. So I will focus on the first question you asked, which is very sensitive. So most people do not understand that climate has a lot to do with the ocean, and ocean has a lot also to do with the climate. So you talk about tsunamis and other natural disasters that occur in the ocean. So the reality here is when we release the green gases to the atmosphere, we think everything is gone by burning. Maybe we burn our bushes, or maybe some petroleum, kind of production. So when this gas is sent to the atmosphere, it comes back to us. So how does it come back? It comes back either as acid rain, which goes to the ocean. And when the ocean, automatically ocean is not acidic. But when acid rain comes in, that turns the ocean to become acidic. So one way, our coral reefs will all be destroyed. That's one way. And then it will also, in the other way around, there is what we call ocean warming. When the ocean warms, a lot of activities can happen, including tsunamis that you're mentioning. So the one way we can help resolve that is by stopping, or reducing how much greenhouse gases do we release. So there have been agitation for the airplanes we use release a lot of gases to the atmosphere, and then the bush burning and other sort of burning that we do in our homes. So although there is a lot of argument, but the point here is if we stop releasing the gases to the atmosphere, I repeat again, nature always have its way of healing itself. And that is what we all been preaching, that let people reduce, let industries, let government parastatals, and let NGOs stop releasing greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. By this will help to reduce acid rain, or also help to reduce the global warming itself. And then the ocean's disasters will also be taken care of.
Eu tenho...
Okay, because these all are fantastic comments and questions, and I think we could talk a lot more about it, especially what the youth can do. And that's what I think I want to focus on in the next minute or so. A lot of the problems we have that you're describing and some of the solutions that you're proposing come from a very simple human condition. There's more and more of us, and we're consuming more and more. So as the youth, you need to look at, do you really need to consume as much as you're consuming? Do you really need to have all these things? Do you really need to go on all these trips? Do you really, think about reducing? Because as you said, the first R is reducing. Cleaning things up is great. It raises awareness. It creates clean environments that are localized, but you can only go so far. It'll just overwhelm us eventually. So my challenge to all of the youth here is think about what you really, really need in life. And also, as you go through your studies, as you learn, as you grow, try and find solutions, alternatives. Focus on that. The big examples that we have are reducing combustion engines to electric engines. It's a simple example that you can touch. But there are so many other things that your creativity could contribute to humanity so that we can reduce our consumption patterns. Thanks.
Thank you, Francois. And I invite you for your...
Eu vou comentar você, fazer os comentários.
The things that I'd like to say is this is a fantastic forum, and congratulations to all of you. And stay motivated. And I think one of the platforms that you could also use is the World Oceans Day platform. A lot of your messaging is very consistent with the messaging of youth all around the world. So I would invite you to submit your videos and commentaries and participate on World Oceans Day, which is June 8th. And I can make more information available. And we'd be happy, I think, I'm looking at my colleague, partner in arms here, we'd be happy, I think, to make a little space on the website for the youth. And so you have this international platform. Thanks. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, François. Então vamos voltar, Maria Clara.
Maria Clara. Well, let's take advantage of Yara. So, Maria Clara. Em primeiro lugar, eu queria agradecer a todos por essa
oportunidade. To promote the ocean literaries, it's such an unforgettable experience. So I am so grateful for you and for this opportunity. So, em português, eu gostaria de agradecer essa oportunidade.
This opportunity of being here for promoting ocean culture along with my school. I'd like to thank my school in Rio Claro to allow me to be here with my friends, and also teacher Natalia. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to give voice to our voice and to allow us to be here in this meeting. And I'm very anxious for the World Ocean Assessment and for what awaits us in the future. Thank you very much. Now, Yara. I'd also like to thank the whole project that gives us voice, our school who supports us all the time and motivates us to take part in this project, and to tell you, don't stop doing your part. I remember when I was little, I had this candy plastic, and I wanted to throw it on the ground, and I told my mom, who is a biologist, and she said, don't throw it on the ground. And I said, this is only a piece of plastic, and she said, it will make a difference, because if everyone thinks like you, it will make a huge difference. So that's it. Thank you.
To repeat everything. So my concern here is I want to encourage every and each of you to really develop more love to become ocean scientists. This is very, very important, and environmentalists, because a lot of guys do not want to get involved with this kind of, career, but this is the way we have to go to help the government, the non-governmental organization in making good decisions. So if we have limited numbers of people that are interested in ocean sciences, that means we cannot predict the future. We cannot give the accurate science information. So I'm encouraging every and each of you to also look at it, work as much as possible to make sure you become one of us. It's a very important thing. Altogether, I appreciate you guys for showing up. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for receiving us, for having us here. I'd like to tell you people, the younger people, that solution for the world were never the answers, but the questions. So your voice is much more important than anything else. So keep talking always. If you can talk about the ocean, it's even better. We are here in a bubble of people affectionate for the ocean, but this bubble is still very small. We need to expand it. Nothing really matters if we can touch people, and for that we need two things: knowledge and empathy. And we can reach this from your voices. Every time you talk about it, every time you talk about the ocean, you will be heard. Thank you. Yara. I'd like to thank the opportunity of being here and my teachers for advising me about the topics, and thank you for your attention. Thank you, Isabella. I'd like to thank especially teacher Vivi, who always supported this, and us, and teacher Diogo for allowing us to have this opportunity. I am a little bit emotional because if I if I wasn't part of a Blue School, I wouldn't be here today with my teacher Vivi. Thank you. Thank you, Nicolas. Thank you all. And I know we're tired, but we still have other 4 young ambassadors who prepared. This is our last round. I'm going to skip the video, and I'll send you on the website for all of you. And I'm going to invite our next session of young ambassadors. We'll have Rafaela Nunes from Franklin Campus, Rodrigo Belan from Objetivo Rio Claro, Maria Clara Caetano Gonçalves from State School Marquês de São Vicente, and João Pedro Fernandes da Silva from Colégio Atro. And to discuss with them, I'd like to invite Marco Boccia from the UN, ALUS, that is responsible for law and ocean, Vinicius Vindoso from UNESCO, and Yatambo Mazumba from South Africa that just arrived. So please, can you come as they sit? I know I am the annoying one, but today we had less time for this forum, and I'd like to thank you for one reason. Despite the forum is being done constantly in this format and in this hybrid format was decided last Wednesday along with the ministry. So it's important to highlight that the students had 4 days to get prepared, and we have some guests just arriving after 36 hours of a 36-hour trip. And we're going to talk about sustainable food from the ocean. And now to start with this topic, as I said, we would have a video because we need to, the students need to go back home, but I'd like to invite Rodrigo Belan to start to bring his perspective about the topic. Well, I'd like to start by saying that how I was introduced to this topic. As Rodrigo mentioned, the school is the basis for everything. I started in 2022, I guess, talking about in the first forums, and I'd like to talk about my topic, which is sustainable food from the ocean. In my opinion, they are quite linked to ocean preservation, because without a healthy ocean, well preserved, we won't be able to have food. So we won't have this topic. And also, there are some projects in our school that are conservation projects and preservation.
Projetos de conscientização.
Awareness raising projects among the students. We have campaigns of recyclable material. We also have hotspots for batteries, the disposal. And I'd like to ask the specialists what do they think about the future of aquaculture and their derivatives in Brazil and abroad. So we start with aquaculture, but before that, I'd like to invite Rafaela Nunes to speak.
Good afternoon, everybody. As we were saying, the topic it's about sustainable food for the ocean. I would like to talk a little bit about my school, MF Franklin, from São Paulo, capital of the city. Actually, we could say that we enjoy this topic a lot. We mention it all the time. Since 2020, we bring this topic to our classes, and I particularly enjoy a lot. My question is about how we could keep consuming the products, the food, without damaging the ocean, the fishing, in a favorable way to both parts. And then we start talking about agriculture and food. Hello, my name is Vinicius. I am communication official representative of UNESCO, and this topic is extremely important because I was actually talking about it earlier. Someone proposed to me, have you ever thought about abandoning everything and producing kelp in farms? And it was kept in my head. I have never thought about it. I never analyzed kelp, the agriculture of it. So I started reading a little bit about it, and even Janaína was telling me, Rodrigo, today, what I was asking, what do they know about it? I am not an expert on it, but just to show a small example, even in this area with people working in the area, we always have new questions, and we kind of try to train ourselves to find those who have the solutions and understand it in different perspectives. I agree that as we deal with new cultures and new ways to produce, it is essential to a sustainable future, but also it needs to be a dialogue, in both sides, because it needs to be conducted in a sustainable way, but also the limits. Where do we go in terms of producing in the volume that we produce? This is a very important debate when we talk about sustainable development in the land or on the ocean.
My name is Tando Mazomba, and I just came in from home in South Africa. And listening to you speak about kelp forests, which is a really large part of our ecosystem, is quite exciting. Oh, is this better? Should I start answering some questions? And yeah, so maybe to your question, first of all, I think the reality is that fishing, be it commercial or small-scale fishing, is a part of our lives because we need food. And the ocean produces a lot of resources in terms of sustaining the livelihoods of people. So I always like to be honest about the necessities of people. We need the food. And your question is really important because it's how do we do this sustainably? And for you guys as kids, as you learn to understand your own agency and your own power, as I think Francois was mentioning, what agency and what capabilities do you have in your own home is a really great place to start. And one of the things that I like to do with food is trying to understand where my food comes from. So if there's canned tuna that your mom or your dad or your aunt or gran have bought, like read the label and see where is it fished, where did it come from, where did it go get packaged, how did it get to your kitchen, and start to be really curious about that, because you start to find a lot of information that's it's on the internet and it's in the school syllabus, but it's sometimes really difficult, it's not tangible, it's not applied to your own home. So being very curious about your food, then you start to think, okay, maybe then I don't buy this brand of fish or this brand of whatever it is because it's been produced there, packaged there, transported through the Pacific, and then landed here. Whereas you could be like, okay, what are the brands that are local? What's local? Can I support local fisher people and fishing communities? Can I go speak to local fishing communities to ask what they're catching and why they're catching it? Because fishing communities are also a really important resource because they have passed down their skills and their knowledge through so many generations, and so they can tell you what the sustainable fish or food is to harvest. Even the kelp, alternative food sources, are a great way to sort of practice your agency, because governments, they need to keep up those quotas to meet those needs for people, right? It's their point of duty. So the challenging of governments is really important always. Understand why policies are there, but in your own home, start to think about that as well. Like, what can you do in your own bubble? And then how do you expand that bubble? Someone mentioned expanding the bubble. And start to introduce those practices to your cousins, to your schoolmates. So that would be my first, sorry, I know I have 2 minutes. Okay, so that would be my first point of call, is to really get curious about what's coming out of your fridge and what's coming out of your cupboard and see what changes you can make there. And then your question was about sustainable, how do we produce or how do we consume sustainably? And I think that would be a similar approach in that it's sometimes very difficult to make decisions for yourself because you are still a young human being and you're still growing in your family's roof. And so I think that it's important to understand, or even ask your school to include it in the syllabus, on how you as kids can start to make those decisions within your own sphere of influence. So I'm gonna stop there.
Is Marco Boss,
Meu nome é
UN Division for Ocean Affairs and Law of the Sea, and I guess it's really great to be here with you all. And I think most of the points I wanted to make had been just highlighted in the last intervention, but I think maybe perhaps to start on a few points on questions that were raised. So the first one's about aquaculture and the future of aquaculture. I think points were made on the importance of curiosity and making sure that you know where things are coming from. So in a way, aquaculture has started in a way a bit in the wrong foot in history, at least in the past, because it was seen not very positively to begin with, because there were various companies, which goes to the points that she made, that you were not really sure exactly how this has been produced, so how the aquaculture farm was being run. So the importance of curiosity means that it's important to know where the product comes from, and it's important to know that these companies follow specific standards. So there are specific standards which are set by the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, and in the last decade or so, the standards globally has been improved. Of course, you know, we're getting there, but I think the future is really aquaculture. I mean, already at the moment, aquaculture is about to surpass, or not surpass, the captured fisheries. So, of course, especially in specific parts of the world. So I think it is to be known the future, just has to be done properly and sustainably. And maybe going back to other point made, which was raised from the very beginning of today's discussion, which is actually the word of sustainability. So I think the most, which is really the key word of why we're here. So sustainability is such an important concept, which is great that you all in these schools, in these programs, have been studying and are fully aware of it, because unfortunately this is not the case worldwide. And so there is more work and awareness raising that needs to be done. So in order to reach the sustainability, we need to know exactly how much can be used and how certain activities should be conducted. So for all this, there are best practices, there are international conventions, which are mandatory for governments. There are voluntary guidelines, which become the new norm on certain things. So I think it really, I guess I want to spend a few more minutes on a few more words on this concept of sustainability, because indeed also the international community recognize this importance by creating the so-called Sustainable Development Goal, which I'm sure most of you already heard, SDGs. So speaking of which, there is one specific SDG on ocean, SDG 14. So this SDG covers various objectives and targets, so the way in which the international community is supposed to reach the sustainability pathways of those topics. And I think this is very important to know that this has been recognized globally as really a foundational element to make sure that we do get the future that we want for the future generation. And I think I'm just very glad and thankful for inviting us to this event, which shows again the level of involvement of the government of Brazil in what really seems to be a crucial element, which is our ocean and our future. Thank you.
Obrigado, Marcos.
Thank you, Marcos Vinicius. And you approached the first questions of Rodrigo and Rafaela, but let's think now about the sustainable economic use of the ocean. And for that, I'd like to invite Maria Clara Gonçalves from Marquês de São Vicente to share her point of view about this. Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to mention my school. They started this Blue Project last year. I think it was a quite nice initiative. I'd like they to keep this project because it's very beautiful. I want to be part of it. It wouldn't be possible to be here without it, so I'm very thankful for that. Well, my topic is the sustainable use of the ocean. It approaches not only an importance for us, but for the global economy. The ocean is the environment responsible for the production of the GPB of Brazil and 45% of fishery activities. In terms of maritime sustainable energy production, it's one of the most sustainable we have because it can produce electricity, and also it is related to economic growth and to generate employment. So my question is, how long do you think it's going to take to reach sustainable ocean energy, since it's available only in some countries with more developed technology? So thank you. We know that you have a question about energy. And lastly, to have an inspirational speech, I'd like to invite João Pedro da Silva. Well, man always used the sea, humankind always used the sea for several things. Sea is so vast. Maritime resources are finite, so we need to know how to learn it, and we have to use technology in favor of humanity. But technology should be democratic. Although an European country is concerned about the ocean, and a developing country won't be able to do the same actions. So in developing countries, you are burning oil for vehicles, and pollution is not restrained to that place, and it affects the whole world. So it's important to talk about sustainable technology. It's important to understand that when you purchase something at the supermarket, you have a plastic bag, but there are renewable products, but they are expensive. How to make it accessible to everyone? How a developing country can have access to those technologies without being so accessible for them? Okay, so those are topics that are going through several discussions. Vinny, would you like to start? Well, it's two perfect subjects for discussion. And they merge together because democracy of sustainability goes through energy democracy. So again, I'm not a specialist. My specialty is communication, but what I can say, what I can bring to this conversation is something that Rodrigo Tomé mentioned before, that we need to remain talking about it. So this year we have a COP on the Arab Emirates. It will be focused on climate negotiations and the climate treaty. This year, this will be focused on renewable energy and democracy of sustainability, how developing countries can access the same tools to have a better performance and this fight against climate warming, global warming. It's a challenging conversation, but if there's something we're learning, and it's something that on the UN system, and Marcos will be more capable of talking about this, but the soul of the UN system is helping those challenging conversations in a way that they're organized, in a way that it can listen to all sizes involved, and to have science as a basis for the answers in a clear and objective way. I think this is the key role such as of something such as the ocean report that is going to be discussed with around 80 specialists. What we know currently and what we don't know currently about renewable energy. What I was told recently, because I was thinking, well, I still use a car using diesel, and how can I change that? What are my options? I could replace my car by an electric car. But talking with some friends, they mentioned several models, but someone told me, well, Vinny, the best you can do for the planet today is not replacing your car, because you will be demanding a production of something else. Your car still can be used for 5-7 years still. But if you are careful and responsible, you will be avoiding creating a new battery or a new product. What happens with the batteries? So this is something we need to debate based on knowledge and science. Obrigada por essas duas perguntas. São perguntas muito importantes.
And I think we will constantly have this conversation. I think that it's an unending conversation, and it has to continue to happen. How long will it take until we get to a sustainable marine sort of energy production? That's, I think, to put a finite number to it is quite impossible right now. And I think what my colleague has said right here about continuing to have the conversations and continuing to hold each other accountable is probably our best bet. And so what I mean by holding each other accountable is, these sort of organizations, these forums where you ask us these questions because it reminds me and it refreshes me that when I go home in my sphere of influence, in my company and to my government, I need to also continue to ask these questions. And everyone in this room will take this conversation into their own homes and their own workplaces. Again, the reality is that energy is a need globally. Things need to continue to work. Things need to be transported. People need to get to places. Things need to be fueled. You know, some of my work is in consulting, and so some of the work that I do is with oil and gas companies, and it's heartbreaking, but I also know that if I weren't there as as a representative of my company to make sure to help these companies comply with, international sort of water quality guidelines because they're pumping, they're drilling oil, then they would do that more recklessly. The fact that we have international guidelines and the fact that they need to be evolving, they need to be addressed, is one way of making sure that whatever we're doing has to remain sustainable, and we need to improve on that sustainability as well. So I think that in terms of policy and what countries are agreeing to doing, South Africa agreed to some sort of renewable energy agreement following the last COP, but then they also agree to some oil. It's always going to be a debate, and I don't like to sugarcoat things, and I don't want to sugarcoat it for you guys as well, because that is the reality. I think the most important task is, with our reality, how can we make that change? And one is to hold each other accountable and hold our governments accountable. To your question, and I'll try to be very brief, or your comment and your statement, thank you for that, and that is also a reality, is that there are nations that have had the privilege for many, many years to develop at the cost of the environment, and somehow now they look at developing countries and developing communities to almost put in the same amount of effort to remedy the situation. My personal opinion is I don't see it that way. I think that the ratio of cause needs to be sort of equal to the ratio of remedy. And so for me, I always like to call to action developed countries on, okay, but you need to be doing more, because when we speak about equality and equity, we need to understand the differences. Equity speaks to making the changes that are needed to raise everyone to the same level, not giving everyone the same opportunity. And I like to view that in solutions as well. If you have more resources and more capacity to do more in terms of remedying our environment, you absolutely should take that responsibility. And I think that it's an important way of holding each other accountable. Same as me, I hold my own privileges in my own space, and so I know I have more capacity to do something else. So if I can take, although public transport in South Africa is particularly difficult, but if I can do it, I must try to do it. If I can eat more sustainably, although it's more expensive, I'm the one who has the capacity to do it, so I must try and do that. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that you're absolutely right in that there seems to be a discrepancy in contribution to solutions, and we need to continue to have that conversation, because it's a particularly important one, especially for us as developing states, because there's still so much that we need to meet for our people and our communities in the face of the external pressures and the environmental pressures that we're facing. And we need developed states to support us in doing that as sustainably as possible. That's what I'm going to say there.
Try to be a bit brief because I think we are past the hour, but perhaps just one more reflection on the issue of renewable energy, which today is, of course, it's not a new topic. It's been out there for quite some time. I think it's, if I were to put elements which will be able to respond to your question as to how would be possible to actually scale this renewable production or energy worldwide, which I think she's right, it will be very difficult to quantify when. And part of the reason is because it's very complicated, because there is there is a portion of this context which is political and economical. So, which is combined together with awareness raising, which is what he was saying. So these three elements together combined need to go hand in hand in order to make substantial change in a country. And some countries do. They are able to bring these three elements together and with great results. either because they made some changes in their policies and their priorities, because of course these changes have a substantial cost. They are cheaper than they were 20 years ago, but they're still expensive, especially in certain parts of the world. So it really comes down to political will from a country. And it's not an easy thing, because as I said, you know, you need not just infrastructure, but before you go to the infrastructure, you need the actual political sphere of a country to recognizing the importance of producing energy in a sustainable way, and a renewable energy, investing in it, and possibly also creating financial support systems for their citizens, which is happening in some countries, like tax breaks on purchasing or postponement of payment after 20 years. I mean, there are different formulas, of course. So all of this, it has been working already for many years in some countries, but is not getting tractions in other regions. So I think, of course, the wish is that eventually we will get to a more uniform global coverage, which I think it will still be difficult to say really coverage, like 100%. That one I think is very, I think she's right, it's very difficult to say. But all in all, I think it will be important then, as I said, so we also play a role into it, because we do have our awareness raising and the importance. I think the example that he was giving about changing the car, a new car, and then also questioning whether, okay, so what is better? It's keep using the old car, or a new car which comes with production cost, production pollution, and so on. So I mean, these are all things which are, I would say, sensibilization of the population, which again goes hand in hand with awareness raising, the economical sphere of this decision, and then the political sphere. So I just want to highlight this, because I don't think we have more time. But thank you.
Thank you, Marco. And you can give your final comments, your final message, for the audience. We go for this.
Final message is, well, not just about this particular panel, but I guess in general, is really, as I said, is really heartfelt to see this enthusiasm in the room and this involvement from the youth, which is it is really the pillar of what we're talking in this room. So again, going back to the word of sustainability, we do all these things everywhere in the world, including the United Nations, but the really foundation of everything is really the youth, because it's through the youth that then certain things get accomplished. So I think, I guess final message will be an applause for everyone in the room, and good luck with your future endeavor, hoping really that you keep going in this direction, because it's the right one. So thank you.
Obrigado, Marco. Maria Clara, sua mensagem final.
Your final message. Well, I'd like to thank my school, my teachers, especially Arnaldo Santana. Without him, I wouldn't have this opportunity of being here.
Rafaela.
I'd like to thank my school as well, and teacher Vivi, who introduced me to this part, which is amazing and something I'm passionate about learning and talking about it. And also thanking the opportunity of being here, and somehow on site or online, that I hope that we have sent a good message and an example to help us preserve the ocean. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronaldo, and the organizers for having me today. It's always such a pleasure to be with everyone and to expand my global community in the marine space. So thank you very much, and well done to all of you guys, and thank you for your questions and statements today. The second and final thing is to the youth here, which it's strange to me because I still consider myself, I think I am still a youth, is that you guys are at a really fantastic point in your lives because you have critical thinking. You're developing like really good thoughts and really good questions, and you are so close to starting your career as, you know, custodians of the ocean or whatever it may be. So don't take that lightly. You just stay on this path that you are. Stay curious, stay challenging us and everyone around you. And I think someone said, be happy to be challenged as well. I'm really excited to see you guys go through this journey. Thank you.
De novo, parabéns.
Thank you. Congratulations to everyone who is here or online. It's a fantastic opportunity. I hope we can still have this kind of opportunities and experience. And thank you, Ronaldo. And 2 call to actions. First, June 8th, which is the World Ocean Day, is arriving. The UN is always highly engaged. Also, UNESCO is also supporting. You have the website, UN World Oceans Day. We're going to share with you through Ronaldo. And we have some events. You can share what you're doing. What are you doing to engage with the ocean? And we will be listening along with youth from everywhere in the world. So June 8th, get prepared. And the second call for action is a long-term call for action. We really need less lawyers, and I say that in front of several lawyers who is here, and more marine biologists. But if you choose to be a lawyer, focus on the sea law. The ocean is in every profession. We need more professionals to dedicate to the ocean. You can be a fashion designer, and you can use fabric produced from algae. You can be a makeup designer, producing sustainable makeup. You can be an engineer, working on these impressive projects, small or large, but everyone can make their part. And I was listening to this podcast the other day, and they said that the secret is not thinking about what you're doing in 10 years from now, but what you're doing today and tomorrow. And when it becomes difficult, just think that you can do one more day, believing and engaging and believing that you are part of the change. Thank you. I also was born in Rio Claro, so Rodrigo. I'd like to thank my school for the opportunity of being here. I'd like to thank everyone here for discussing this important subject, which is the ocean. Thank you. Thank you, Rodrigo. Now, João Pedro Fernandes Silva. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone here in this table because I was afraid of being here, but when I got here, it was amazing. I really enjoyed, and I'd like to thank my friends and my teacher, Ana Lu, who helped me in this process. And lastly, I'd like to leave a special thank you for all young ambassadors who are here with us, who were watching online, and because of our delay, we had some schools that had to leave that came from very far. My huge hug for Francisco Nunes that were here with us until a while ago, and also Colégio Amorim. Received my warm hugs. Also, Colégio Miguel de Cabo Frio that were here with us till a while ago, and the state school in Porangaba. Thank you all. I'm sorry for the delay, but I think it was very good. And I wish that we have more forums, more spaces, more time Thank you for the colleagues from the Brazilian Sign Language translators for allowing real inclusion. And I thank you all. I thank all the specialists, all young ambassadors. The call for the Olympics is launched. The call for the Blue School is launched. And I think we have a lot to discuss in the coming years. Thank you all, and I wish you a safe return.